welcome to another week of the Tetra Travels. This week might actually be a bit of a rant video, but it's all about going to the Hammersmith Apollo and seeing Shen Yun. We've seen it advertised around London quite a lot recently. It's absolutely everywhere on the tubes, on posters, on YouTube, Facebook. It just gets advertised to you all the time. But Shen Yun is like a Chinese dance troupe that subscribes to the religion of Falun Dafa. They're kind of often described as a bit of a cult, but we thought let's give it a try and see what it's like. We've heard it was a very spectacular show, and so we decided let's go along, see how it is, and give our experiences. But in the meantime, also just see what the Hammersmith Apollo is like in terms of access. Unfortunately, getting tickets for this show is where it all sort of fell down, and frankly, pissed me off. So, the story I need to tell, and put out there, is actually about, frankly, why are disabled people struggling to get tickets for shows throughout London and making it so difficult for us. Since COVID, I've actually tried to book the theatre a number of times, and I've come across one problem consistently that is hitting my head against a brick wall, and that is that they've turned off all the phone lines for many of the theatres. It's a real source of frustration and actually makes life so difficult for disabled people. We just want to go and see a show. Why have they made it so difficult for us to book tickets? We can't book tickets online like everyone else can. We have to phone up access lines. But if they're going to switch them off, it's what do you do? So then you email the access lines and they say it'll be 10 working days to get back to you. Sometimes you wait a month. One show I waited 2 months for. And this was no different. The Hammersmith Apollo, I emailed them, heard nothing back for weeks. And even though they said they'd get back to me within 10 days, so then you question them again and you get an automatic response, oh, that'll be another 10 days. And you're just all I want to do is pay you for some tickets, please. But it just seems to be constantly like this, and I'm kind of fed up of COVID being used as this excuse to not offer great access. The other thing that's sort of important about phone lines is that actually some people have access needs, and using an email isn't the most suitable, or booking online wouldn't be suitable. They actually need to talk to someone. An example of this might be someone who is blind, that actually they struggle to access those systems and they want to phone somebody. So all round, I just don't think it's very acceptable that disabled people are being left like this. On top of this, with this show, something happened to me that meant actually I couldn't attend the date I was going to go on. So that happened about a week before. So I got in contact with them again, only via email because all the phone lines switched off, and no one got back to me. Originally, somebody said, "Can you give me your phone number and I'll phone you?" Nothing happened. So then I'm left in this position of do I just accept that I'm not going to be able to go and lose my money, or do I try and sort of struggle to get hold of somebody? I decided to do the latter because the tickets were pretty expensive. In the end, I decided I'm going to have to drive over to Hammersmith from where I live, which is about 90 minutes away. So not an easy trip, 90 minutes there, 90 minutes back. So I drove there on the Friday night, and my show was meant to be on the Sunday to see if I could change tickets. I got to the box office, and they were luckily open because it was a show night, and they said to me, "Yeah, we can change your tickets for you, but the person who can do it isn't here. So we'll 100%, and they repeated that 3 times, 100% ring you on Monday to sort it out, and if you haven't used your tickets on the Sunday, they'll be able to see that, and they'll make sure you get tickets for later in the week." One of the other problems with the show was that it was only ending this week, so I had to kind of get them for this week, otherwise it wouldn't have happened at all. Anyway, Monday comes around, and guess what? Nobody phones me, which really frustrating because I can't even phone them, so I'm ringing various numbers, seeing if I could get through to anyone. In the end, I end up phoning up the Falun Dafa organisation, who are in the UK but are also linked to the show. They were actually really helpful and tried to contact the theatre, and the theatre was saying they would get back to me, but I heard nothing. So I was left frustrated. So I decided to drive over to Hammersmith again. This time I get to Hammersmith, and it turns out that there's been no show on the Monday, and that no one has been in the office at all. I talked to a security guard outside. He said, "I don't know why they said they'd ring you on Monday, because no one is in on a Monday." So I'm like, well, what's going on? This is really, at this point, I'm just fuming, and I'm I've now done 2 round trips to Hammersmith, and I've got nowhere. and you promised me you would phone me, but you haven't. So I'm like left in the lurch yet again. So they say you'll have to drive back the next day for the Tuesday show when you can go to the box office. Tuesday comes around and I go for my third trip to the Hammersmith. So again, another 90 minutes. There, 90 minutes back. I get there, and despite on the website saying on a show day the box office will be open 4 till 8 o'clock, it turns out it was a matinee, and nowhere does it say on the website that because it's a matinee the box office closes at 4. So I go after work, expecting the box office to be open, and yet again they're not. So I end up again talking to the security guard. What the hell's going on? Like, how do I contact them? Like, I need someone to contact me, otherwise I've lost my money. And actually, to be fair to him, this time he did actually manage to drag somebody out of the building who could have a chat with me, and who did actually phone the right person there on the spot for me, because he said it was unacceptable how I'd been treated. But it's like, why should it be this difficult for someone with a disability to get a ticket and sort something out? And it's not just disability people, it's everyone. Like, if you have a problem with your ticket, you want to phone somebody or at least be responded to, like, quickly. It's just frustrating. That will kind of be my rant over though, because at least after this third go, they finally sorted it for me and they got me a ticket for the Friday night. So that's when I actually went, and I did sort of say to them I was like really unhappy with the treatment, and they did actually sort me out with some drinks tokens to try and sort of apologise. So I will give that to them, and I will say that on the Friday when I turned up, the tickets were all ready to collect, and they'd actually done a good job of trying to mitigate the fact that they'd messed me around so much. But I still just think it's unacceptable that there's no phone lines working, and I think that goes for a lot of the theatres in London. They need to listen to disabled people and actually help them out. I think it's not just theatres, it's all over the place. Like, phone lines should be open again. It shouldn't be an excuse at this point. Like, we've all had time to move on a bit, and yes, COVID is still an issue, but technology has changed, people have adapted, and like, it's time they got with the times. I'll now move on and talk a bit about the show, because frankly enough's been said about that. It's not acceptable, but let's move on. The venue itself is actually really good. Like, after all the negatives I have to say the venue was good. I got there, it wasn't too busy, everyone was sort of spaced out, at least on the entrance. And then there was a ramp to the right that guides you up into where the box office is, that leads to the foyer. It was all very easy, and you'll see some footage next. I'll just describe it over the top. But yeah, I actually was impressed with the venue, and so I'll just give you some footage of like what it's like around the area, and like, yeah. Another useful tip is that the Kingsmore car park is about a 10-minute walk away from the Hammersmith, maybe a bit less, just the other side of the station, and it's very easy to get to. There's good drop down curbs all the way, and there was at least 3 or 4 car parking spots every time I went over there, so I'd fully recommend that. It can be a bit pricey if you end up more than 4 hours. I think it goes up to £20, but before that it was about £5.50 for 4 hours or something, or maybe no, £10.50 for 4 hours and like £5.50 for like 2 to 4 hours. So not too bad, but suddenly it jumps up at that after that 4 hour mark. The other useful thing about the car park is I drive a van, so it's hard to find places that have a height restriction that's allowable. My van is 2 meters tall and it fitted easily, but it might be worth just checking on the Kingsmore website exactly what the height restriction is. This was outside of the Hammersmith Apollo. They had it all lit up in the Ukrainian colours. Obviously what's going on there is pretty shocking at the moment, and a lot of support there. And yeah, me outside. As I said before, the ramp getting in was very well located. You had sort of a side entrance to get to this ramp, and then when you got there, it was sort of, the security was halfway up, but you could kind of bypass that in my wheelchair, and didn't really check me much. They kind of just sort of waved me through a little bit, and everything was quite simple. So yeah, no complaints here, and very easy. Once we got in, I didn't actually film the foyer to begin with. I filmed it as I left, but very spacious. Obviously before the show it was a bit more busy than this, but nothing too bad, and like easy to get around and no problems there. After the foyer there was a little corridor that led to the main seating area, and when I got there it was actually quite impressive. The disabled access was on the right hand side, but there was also another one on the left. But it was nice and spacious, a good view of the stage, and no restricted view in terms of people's heads in the way. This was sort of what the platform looked like. Plenty of seats, so like there should have been many more tickets available if people can get them. So yeah, that was all very impressive actually. I sort of sat there, had a good view. Like the theatre itself is a very impressive looking theatre. It's massive, and I can fully understand why they do such big performances there. It's very grand, and yeah, I was just very impressed with it all. So I thought it's such a shame that I had such a negative experience getting the tickets, because actually once I got there, I was really, really pleased. The show itself was actually spectacular. The dancing was absolutely amazing. Everything was really well timed and in unison, and that yeah just took my breath away. The way they integrated sort of the video screen with the dance was like yeah very interesting. Um, I think it was a bit at times too religious and too sort of trying to get you on board with the religion, but frankly, if you can ignore that, it didn't really matter to me. I really enjoyed the show. I did sort of at times laugh and think like, am I being sort of indoctrinated here into some kind of like new religion? I wouldn't describe it as a cult like the way some people do, but I do feel like yeah, maybe they're a bit pushy with that. But it's as a religion, they have got quite an interesting history of like the way they were first initially accepted in China and then not accepted after that and sort of persecuted. So I do understand why they're so sort of protective of it and why they're sort of so yeah pushing it. But it's not for me. I'm not someone that's particularly into my sort of various religions. But I just really enjoyed the show. I thought it was yeah amazing. I'd really recommend going to see it. Like, yeah, as I say, just ignore that sort of side of it and just enjoy it for what it is. Like a really talented bunch of artists doing what they do well. So, yeah, definitely go. And the view's great. Yeah, enjoy it. That's what I'd recommend. The show is over for this year, but apparently they come back every year, so they'll be on again soon. And yeah, definitely give it a shot. I have to say, I wasn't hugely impressed with the toilet. It was rather cramped. It didn't have much space to turn around, and the bin was chock a block with paper. So yeah, wasn't my best experience, but it did the job and it had what you needed. And then sort of yeah, this was the way out. So all very easy, but yeah, the toilet could have been a bit better. Yeah, so that's it for another week. Like I think overall my experiences were like positive. Like I enjoyed the show. I'm glad I went. But I think it just shouldn't have been that much effort to get tickets, and I stand by that. People need to open phone lines now because it's just getting silly. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, share, and subscribe. Spread this message, please, because frankly, it's like hacked me off for the last 6 months. And yeah, like hope you have a really great week, and see you soon.